All right, welcome to our lesson on the water cycle. This is a PowerPoint that hopefully will take you through the major components and things you need to know regarding the water cycle. Um, to start off though, let's talk a little bit about the different forms of water on Earth. So you can find water on Earth in different forms. The majority of the water on Earth is found in the oceans, approximately makes up 97% of the water on Earth. The rest you can find as ice in the northern and southern poles. You can find fresh water in rivers and lakes. And in case you didn't know, you can also find water below the Earth's surface. This is known as groundwater, and in fact makes up most of the fresh water found on Earth. Here are some pictures of waves. Like I mentioned, the ocean makes up 97% of the water on this planet. This is a man-made pond for a golf course, as you can see right here. And this is a glacier, an example of ice, of water as ice on Earth. These are found usually in the north and south poles of the Earth. So this brings us to our main topic of focus, and that would be the water cycle. Um, the water cycle is the Earth's recycling mechanism for water. It's a continuous process, meaning that it never ends. It's a continuous process through which water moves from the Earth's surface to the atmosphere and then back to the Earth's surface. And the main driving force is energy from the sun, which comes to us in the form of heat. So here are the steps of the water cycle. First step would be water evaporates. Then clouds form through condensation. Then water falls as precipitation. And then it starts again. That's why it's called the water cycle. It keeps cycling over and over and over. It's never ending. So the first thing that water does in the water cycle is water evaporates. Evaporation is the process by which the sun heats up liquid water and changes it to a gas. Water can evaporate from an ocean, from a lake, from soil, from puddles, even from your skin or from grass on the ground. Water can evaporate from plants. This water that evaporates from plants is done through a process called transpiration, which turns the water on a plant, say for example on a rose or on a petal, or on a piece of grass. The water on that plant material becomes water vapor through this process called transpiration. After water evaporates, then clouds form. So this happens because this water that evaporates and turns into a gas rises due to heat. And as it gets higher in the atmosphere, it starts to cool off and it kind of becomes liquid again. This process is called condensation. When a large amount of water vapor condenses, it results in the formation of clouds. So all the clouds you see around you are due to these little droplets of water vapor which have combined together through this process of condensation. The third step of the water cycle is water falls as precipitation. When the water in these clouds that form through condensation get too heavy, the water has to fall back down to Earth. This is called precipitation. The reason that water droplets fall back down to Earth is because of gravity. Water can fall back down to Earth to complete the water cycle in multiple forms, interestingly enough. It can fall as rain, which is liquid water. It can fall as snow, or hail, which are frozen water. or as sleet, which is a combination of liquid water and frozen water. When water falls back down to the earth, that is called precipitation. This is an image of raindrop. So, as I mentioned earlier, the water cycle has 3 key steps. Evaporation, when the sun warms up the water. So in this example, the sun is shining and sends energy as heat to the ocean, warming it up. What then happens from this energy from the sun is that water starts evaporating, starts turning into water vapor, and starts rising up towards the atmosphere. This water that's evaporated then kind of pulls together and forms clouds. This is through a process called condensation. So, condensation again happens because as air rises, it cools and then condenses. From these clouds, once they start getting a little too heavy, that's when they must release a little bit of the weight. And so the water molecules that are in these clouds must return to the Earth's surface, and they can reach it as rain, snow, sleet, or hail through a process called precipitation. In this case, right here, the water returned or cycled back down to the earth in the form of snow. What then happens is the snow melts and flows back towards the ocean in this process called runoff. This allows lakes to form, rivers flow towards the ocean, and then the water cycle is complete and starts all over again. So I want to go through that a little faster, just so you can kind of see it. So I'm going to cycle back really quickly and show it to you one more time. So if you remember, the water cycle is the process for the earth to recycle its water. So all the water on earth is and will continue to be the same water that's been here for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years. Here's how this happens. The sun shines and sends energy down to the earth as heat, as you can see by this arrow. What happens in this example is the ocean is heated, and with more heat, the water starts to evaporate. As the water evaporates and heads up towards the atmosphere, they start to form clouds, as you can see through this arrow right here. As the water starts to evaporate and as it goes higher and higher into the atmosphere, it starts to cool off and condense, and this allows these water molecules to form clouds through a process called condensation. These water molecules then get a little too heavy in these clouds, and due to gravity have to fall back down to Earth. This is done through a process called precipitation. Precipitation can cause water to return to the surface of the Earth through multiple ways, either as rain, snow, sleet, or hail. So the clouds condense, they get too heavy, and then precipitation causes the water molecules to return back down to Earth. In this example, snow forms due to cool temperatures and then falls down to the earth. And to kind of complete the water cycle and to keep the cycle going, what happens is the snow melts, starts to flow down mountain caps. At some point, lakes form. From these lakes, rivers can form, and usually the water returns back to the ocean through rivers or through a process called runoff. And once again, the water cycle is complete. Heat from the sun causes evaporation, clouds form through a process called condensation, Clouds get heavy, water molecules must return to the surface of the Earth. They return through precipitation. In this case, snow caps melt, causing a runoff back down to the ocean, and the cycle continually repeats itself as it has done for millions and millions of years. This is a more detailed picture of the water cycle. You can kind of read through it, but once again, starts from the sun, evaporation, condensation, precipitation, runoff. You can see ice caps, you can see rain, you can see lakes, you can see rivers, you can see groundwater. I highly recommend reading through this image as it will be important and will play an important role in this course. Anyways, hopefully this PowerPoint and brief explanation of the water cycle is useful for you, and hopefully the course is understandable as well. Thank you for your time. Have a great rest of your day.